which is where Sam Farmer, the LA Times, he covers the NFL, and he moonlights covering the Masters here, who joins us now. Sam, thanks for joining us. By the way, I love the article that you had on the sand at Augusta, and I thought it would be great for this audience to understand, because when we see it, it looks like bowls of sugar. Jim Nantz has referred to it that way. I just didn't know to what lengths they went to bring this sand in. So can you give us sort of the Cliff Notes version of that?
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me on. So the sand is from a place called Spruce Pine, North Carolina, which is 4 hours north of Augusta. And really, it's some of the most valuable sand in the world, or at least it's a byproduct of some of the most valuable sand in the world. Spruce Pine Geological Mineral District has the purest quartz in the world. It has the fewest impurities. And they use that quartz to create computer chips. And so, whereas quartz sand would typically sell for about $50 a ton, the sand in Spruce Pine sells for about $20,000 a ton.
Ooh.
And so you can imagine the security of the companies up there. These multinational corporations have convened on this little town in the Blue Ridge Mountains, this little mountain town. And they're like Wonka factories up there, protecting this sand. Well, the sand that is a waste product, or sort of not quite as pure, has become the sand they use at Augusta. And it dates back to Clifford Roberts, the co-founder of the club, having a summer home up there, loving this white sand that's just so sparkly and pure looking, and wanting that for his club. And it's become so coveted that Spruce Pine recently shipped about 4,000 tons, if you can imagine that volume, 4,000 tons of this to Dubai. So imagine selling sand to the desert. Well, this sand is so valuable and so coveted, and so sort of has so much sentimental value that, and a few years ago, a guy was arrested here at the Masters for trying to fill his beer cup full of sand. And so,
wait, did he slip inside the ropes and then just scoop it up from
he accidentally fell under the ropes, and then he accidentally crawled over to a bunker and
how much did they accidentally fine him for that?
They accidentally fined him $20,000, and they haven't rectified that yet. So they accidentally handcuffed him and brought him to the ground, and it was quite a scene. So anyway, this Spruce Pine sand is really cool, and a lot of people really confuse it for all different types of minerals, or they don't know where it comes from.
But do the players like it, Sam?
I think they do. It sort of compacts very nicely. It's very fine, and they feel they can hit off it. Although Tiger said he feels like borrowing his caddy's sunglasses every time he's in the bunker. It's so bright and so reflective.
When I played Augusta, I did steal one of my divots. I don't know if they will come after you if you steal some grass. I mean, this is a long time ago that I played, but I remember hitting a approach shot on either 13 or 15, and I went, man, that almost looks like a professional divot. I'll put it in my bag. Got home years later. I go, oh my God, I kept this divot and I had it in my bag there. So I don't know if they police that.
Well, I would imagine they do. It was interesting. I believe it was Sean Powell, the sports writer Sean Powell, whose first 2 rounds of golf came at Pebble Beach. Now imagine your first 2 rounds of golf.
Ever.
Pebble Beach and Augusta. His first 2 rounds of golf, because he played at the U.S. Open, the U.S. Open Media Day, and then he won the lottery here at Augusta to play on the Monday after the Masters. So,
oh my God,
pretty much want to call it a career after that. Just get Pine Valley in and call it a career.
Sam Farmer, LA Times writer. He covers the NFL, host of Artificial Friends podcast here. We were talking about Phillip Rivers. Michael Irvin did an interview last night, and he said, I'll see you in 5 years at the Hall of Fame. Is Phillip Rivers, let me just start with, is he headed to the Hall of Fame, and is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well, in my book, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame guy, one of my favorite players ever, covering Philip Rivers, and certainly it's going to haunt him that he had warning track power with the Chargers. They had some really good teams, especially 2006, going 14-2, and then losing in the divisional round their first game. Um, they never took it beyond, although he played really well in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Had him, I think it was a one-score game into the fourth quarter, and he was playing on a torn ACL. So, while it's going to be a tough argument as a first ballot Hall of Famer, you've got to see who's going in that class along with him. But as a person, there's no better guy, and it surprises a lot of people because they see him on the field and being so throwing temper tantrums on the field and everything. But he is the greatest guy. I'll tell you a little Philip Rivers story. He had to do he committed to do a men's retreat, and he's very devout in his Catholicism, a men's retreat in Arizona when he was in San Diego. And there was a weather problem or something. Something happened with the flight. So he couldn't make it. And most every guy would call and apologize and say, sorry, I couldn't make it. This guy hops in his pickup truck, makes the drive to Arizona overnight, does the talk, drives back. So he does about 14 hours of driving just so he can make good on that commitment. So he's, I remember he and his wife took a staycation to the Hotel Del Coronado one time. And as they were checking in, this beautiful hotel in San Diego, Dwayne Wade was checking in at the same time. And they sort of caught eyes, and Dwayne Wade gave him a head nod like that. Philip talked about it for a week to his wife, saying, Dwayne Wade knew who I was. And he's the guy who nodded to me. He knew who I was. Did you see that? And so it's sort of, that tells you a lot about Philip Rivers. He's so unimpressed with himself that that will go down as one of his greatest moments, that Dwayne Wade recognized him one time. And Philip Rivers was a Pro Bowl quarterback. So again, Hall of Fame guy, and probably a Hall of Fame player, but I'd sort of need to know who was around him at that time.
Best team in California right now is who?
Well, the Chargers are so talented, they can't win games, so I can't give it to them. And the 49ers are so broken down. I would have to say the Rams, but you really have to wonder if teams shut down the running game the way that Miami did and put it on Jared Goff's shoulders. Is he going to be able to come through for you? And I think we'll know a lot coming out of this bye, how the Rams are, how they recover. They're playing Seattle. Sean McVay's 4-2 against Pete Carroll, and those two losses came by a total of 7 points. He's 6-0 against Arizona. And so we're going to learn a lot about this division, but 4 of their 5 wins have come against NFC East teams. And NFC East, I think I wrote that NFC East wins have all the gravitas of packing peanuts. So we just don't know how good these teams are, and we're going to find out in the second half of the season.
And I mentioned this, I'll leave you with this. I don't know if we're getting to the Jordan treatment of Patrick Mahomes, where what else can we say? What else can we write? Now we're looking at, hey, is Kyler Murray an MVP candidate? Russell Wilson deserves to be in the conversation. I think when people look at Mahomes' numbers, they go, oh, my God, how did we bypass that? Like, we just skipped by that because we're like, oh, it's Mahomes. He's really good. And you guys love to write a good story here, and that goes into when people vote, sometimes you're voting because you're voting for the best story. Is there Mahomes fatigue already?
It's funny. Mahomes is so good that the little things that he used to do that would have blown us away, switching hands or rolling out and making these incredible passes, it's almost worked against him, because now we say, oh yeah, that's Mahomes. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen it, and he's still doing things that are unbelievable. I think back to, I talked to Bruce Arians about Patrick Mahomes because the Cardinals really wanted to draft him when Bruce was there. And Bruce said, he's one of the 4 smartest guys on the board I've ever had. And I said, well, who are the guys? And he said, well, Peyton. And I'd certainly say Andrew Luck, putting him up on the board, and Patrick Mahomes. And I said, he said, well, I'm not going to tell you the 4th guy. He said, because every other guy I coach will think he's the 4th guy. So it was perfect.
That's great.
But yeah, Mahomes is great. And then, and not to belabor this, but I think it really, if you look back at the NFC West, and you mentioned 2 of the quarterbacks there, I think the NFC West fits in 2 very distinct buckets. You've got the play action, good defense teams in LA with the Rams and San Francisco. And you've got the shortstop type quarterback who each quarterback played baseball and who makes things happen in Seattle and Arizona, and really defenses that leave something to be desired. So it'll be interesting to see in the second half of this season when these teams start playing each other, which side prevails.
Have fun down there, Sam. It's great to catch up with you. Thanks for joining us.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
That's Sam Farmer, LA Times writer covering the NFL down at Augusta and host of Artificial Friends podcast.